Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks so much for coming. Thanks for filling some of the seats in this enormous room. I hope everyone's been having a good conference. Forgive me for my Britney Spears mic. It seems like it's falling off at times. I am a Canadian Olympic 400-meter hurdler, and I'm here to talk about today overcoming life's hurdles. I want to start today off with a defining moment for me. And this was back in 2005. It was my very first year of track and field. And I was at the National Junior Championships that were in Sherbrooke, and I needed to win the race in order to qualify for the World Junior Championships in Beijing later that year. So I'm standing behind my blocks. I'm incredibly nervous. I know I need to win this race. My family and friends are in the stands, and just so happens that the weather decided to not cooperate at all. It's a torrential downpour. I can barely see hurdle one in front of me, and I'm standing behind my blocks. And I'm thinking, why do I do this? I absolutely hate track and field. This is the worst feeling in the whole world. The starter says, on your marks. I get into my blocks, and I quickly change my mindset. I say, you know what? I can do this. It's okay. You're fine. So gun goes off. Come into my blocks as fast as I can. I go over hurdle one, and my coach later tells me, since I was so nervous, I was almost instantly off my stride pattern. So I go up to hurdle two, and I'm way too close to the hurdle. So as I drive my lead leg up, I face plant, hit the floor. Because it's raining, I slip and slide across the track. I rip my number off. I have track burned down my legs, and the whole field runs by me. And almost instinctively, I have no idea what happens. I'm back up and running. And the next thing I knew, I just kind of focused on one girl, and I started to draw her a little bit closer in, and I just kept running, and she came a little bit closer, and a little bit closer, and I came around the final corner into the straightaway, and they were in reach. So lactic is starting to fill my entire body. It feels like my eyeballs are floating in it. I get so close to the finish line, and I lean. I look up at the scoreboard, and I won the race, and I qualified for the World Junior Championships later that year, and my coach is absolutely astonished. He has a bit of a waddle, so he waddles over kind of quickly, and he comes up to me, and he's like, oh my gosh, what were you doing? You gave me an absolute heart attack. I can't believe you just did that. And I look up to him, out of breath entirely, and I just say, I like to mix it up. And in that moment, I realized that no matter the circumstances, I was a person who was going to overcome any obstacle in order to go after what I wanted. Fast forward 10 years later, and I was competing at the London Olympic Games in 2012, where I finished as a semifinalist. But what I want to talk about today, and as a reminder to you, is that when people watch the Olympics, they assume that we are these superhuman creatures, that we were born Olympic athletes. And I want to tell you guys that there's no lime green beverage that I drink before I step on the line that turns me into the Incredible Hulk. My pre-race ritual is to actually eat a peanut butter and banana sandwich. So though our fields of expertise may be very different, our milestones and the path to success and the things we encounter are very similar. And what's important to remember, and something to ask yourself, is are you pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone? For me, at practice, every Tuesday and Saturday, my coach forces me to do that because the workouts that he's giving me will usually make me run till I make myself sick. And it's hard in those moments, but I know that if I want to see the greatest adaptation, that I have to get myself into that uncomfortable state in order to see the benefits of my training. And is there something wrong here with this photo? Should I be hitting that hurdle? Definitely not. And this photo here was actually taken only 4 months before I qualified for the Olympic Games. So even that close to the greatest accomplishment of my life, I was still making mistakes and having to learn from them and go forward. So today, as I'm speaking, when you're thinking about your goals, remember that are you pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone? And are you making mistakes and learning from them? Because that is where success is going to lie. And I have 3 tools that I think can help you in accomplishing those things. The first one of those is to make choices, not sacrifices. And this, I think, is huge. Because the word sacrifice, it is just flooding with negativity. But the word choice is something you want to do. And so if you have a goal, you have to make choices to reach milestones on the path to that goal. And for me, from a very young age, there was a lot of choices that I had to make. I knew, and someone here that may be from Ontario, you have heard of the OFSA championships, which are like the greatest thing that ever happened to high school sport. Everybody wants to be in the OFSA championships. And that's what I wanted at the time. I wanted to be an OFSA champion. And so in high school, when it's really important to have that lunch hour with your friends and bond with everyone, I chose to do my workouts over that lunch hour because I had homework and a part-time job following school. So if I wanted to achieve this goal of becoming an OFSA champion, I had to miss out on those critical teenage high school lunches. But that was a choice I wanted to make, and that led me to achieving what I wanted. I also remember being in elementary school, and some of you also may remember this, when your teachers, and it was mandatory for you to attend 2 track events and 3 field events in your elementary school every year, annually, worst day of everyone's life. Just absolutely horrifying. You had to stand on the line. There was potential opportunity for embarrassment. If you were a hurdler, you could fall. If you were a long jumper, you could faceplant into the sand. And that's all I could think about. And now track and field is basically my entire life. And so what it took for me to not stand behind my blocks and think about what I thought in that first year of training, as I said, I stood behind my blocks and I thought, I hate track and field, why do I do this? It was a choice to look at this as not an opportunity for failure, but a significant opportunity to improve. And so every single race, no matter what went wrong the last time, this is now an opportunity for me to do better. Maybe my start was terrible. Maybe I hit a hurdle. And now, this time, even if it potentially ends up worse, it is still an opportunity where I can take some things away and find a silver lining and continue to progress forward. And there's so much research behind this. There's so much science that says those that make a decision to succeed are far more likely to achieve their goals than someone who's just going to kick back and go with the flow and hope for the best. So who here has written a grocery list before? Raise of hands. Awesome. And someone yell out for me why they might make a grocery list. To remember, you might forget, absolutely. And so similarly with your goals, you might forget something. That is in your human capabilities. So with the grocery list, you're making a turkey dinner, you're probably going to go to the grocery store and remember the turkey. It's Thanksgiving, who forgets that? But what you might forget is that cranberry sauce or the seasoning, something that really makes the turkey taste absolutely delicious. And with your goals, those small things are going to take you from good to great. So write that grocery list. What are all the things you need to succeed? And not only that, but then write a recipe. How are you going to add those things in? Where are you going to find time for each element? Who do you need on board to help you with that? And this grocery list and recipe is going to help you take it one step at a time. Because if I stood on the line my very first day of training and said, I want to be an Olympian, how many things do I have to do to get there? And my coach printed out a Word document that had endless things from now till then, I would likely be so overwhelmed that I would just be like, you know what, that's too much, I probably can't do it, I'm out. But I had a step-by-step process. And as this quote says, you start by doing what's necessary. Eventually, you're doing what's possible. And what you thought at the beginning was impossible, you're suddenly doing without any issues. Love this photo. And this is to exemplify a very amazing piece of advice a friend gave to me. He said, when you're encountered with a moment when that choice is really hard to make, it's important to flex your discipline muscle. And that might not be a true muscle, but it is something that you can strengthen. So let's say maybe your goal is to change your eating habits. And one day your friend is having a party and they have a table full of desserts. And you take one and you start to eat just a little bit and you're thinking in your brain, shoot, I wanted to change my eating habits, but this is so delicious. And so halfway through you realize, you know what, actually I'm gonna stop. And you flex that discipline muscle. You don't take any more bites. The next time someone offers you dessert, you've strengthened that discipline muscle. And so this time you're able to refuse that from the very start. And that discipline muscle suddenly starts to get stronger and stronger. And now suddenly you're able to create change over time because you've flexed that discipline muscle. And that is ultimately a choice. And again, as I know these choices can be hard to make. I remember being in high school not wanting to go out there and do those workouts. I remember being in university and not wanting to make all of the choices that I had to make. But I ultimately now have the title Olympic athlete, and I'm going to have that forever. And for you guys, when you're pursuing your goals, maybe you're sitting in front of your computer, you're programmers, you guys are endlessly writing code, and it feels like it's never going to end. But once you finally completed that project and you have your app or you have your website and it's launched, you're going to have that forever. And that will be far more worthwhile than the small things you missed out on along the way. Multitasking. This is something that I think a lot of people get confused about, because we live in a society that says multitasking is great, you should do as many things as possible, you're all in technology, you understand technology's made that easy for us. We can be on our phones, having dinner with our friends, texting our friend over in Taiwan, watching a YouTube video all at the same time. But I truthfully don't suggest multitasking as a thing. And I'll run you through a little exercise here to prove it to you. I want everybody out loud, as fast as you can, to say the letters A through F. Ready? Go. Extra letters. Great job, guys. And so now I want you to do 1 through 6 as fast as you can. Now I want you to switch between letter and number. Fast as you can. Did that get a little more challenging? Did that take a little bit more time? Absolutely it did. And that's because your brain is focusing from one thing to the next thing to the next thing, and it makes it so much more challenging. So if you want to be efficient and effective in achieving what you're after, then it's important to make sure you find time for each element of your goal. Because I am by no means saying don't set a lot of goals in a lot of different fields in every area you imagine. I absolutely want you to do that. But what I don't want you to do is put too many goals on your plate at once, because your brain is going to be in 7,000 different places, and it's going to be hard to be effective and efficient in what you're trying to accomplish. So just make sure that maybe this month, I'm going to focus on these 3 things. Today, I have these 4 important tasks that I need to accomplish, and that'll keep you on task and efficient. This brings me to my second theme, which is relentless pursuit, and a large chunk of my story lives here. Because there's so many great success stories that consist of people that just simply never gave up. J.K. Rowling was on welfare before Harry Potter took off. Walt Disney was turned down from a newspaper for not being creative enough. And similarly, in my defining moment story, when I fell, if I would have just called it right there because I had fallen, I would have never qualified for the World Junior Championships. And the greatest accomplishment biggest obstacle I've had to overcome was the year before the Olympic Games. I got a stress fracture in my femur, which is your big thigh bone, the biggest bone in your body, and also takes the longest to heal. This was the year before the Olympics. All of my teammates, friends, competitors are gearing up for one of the greatest years of our lives. I'm being told, because some of you may have broken a bone before, you just have to sit down and wait for it to heal. And as an athlete who is used to training 5 to 6 hours a day, this was exhausting. And it wasn't even like the day I got hurt, we knew that it was going to take 9 months. It was a matter of me showing up at the doctor's office, getting an MRI, them saying, nope, sorry, it's not healed yet, come back in 5 weeks. I'd go away, I'd cross-train, I'd try to keep my fitness level up as much as I could, and then I'd come back in 5 weeks being very eager, hoping that it's healed. And the doctor would say, nope, sorry, not healed yet, come back in 5 weeks. And this went on for 9 months. Every time I would get excited and I would fall off the edge of the cliff when I was told it wasn't healed. Because it's the year before the Olympics, and every month that passes that I'm not training, the Olympic trials are getting closer and closer. And I wasn't even at the fitness level required in order to qualify for the Olympic Games, so that when I was finally cleared to run, I not only had to get back to who I was before that, but then improve upon that in order to qualify. So this seemed impossible. I was telling people that my goal was still to make the Olympic Games, but part of me at times was thinking, why would I ever do this to myself? I'm setting myself up for failure. But I knew that if anyone could do this, it was going to be me. So my very first day back to training, I got the word believe tattooed on my wrist without the Olympic rings. It was October 4th, 2011. And I got just the word believe. Because I said, you know what? If anyone can do this, it's me. All the obstacles are against me, but I think in these 8 months, I can do this. And so I was going to look down at my wrist for inspiration at any point I needed it. After sitting out for 9 months, I start training. 3 weeks into training, I have absolutely no core strength because I've been sitting around for so long. And I'm doing some hurdle drills, and all of a sudden, I feel this huge sharp pain in my abdomen. And I went over to my coach and I said, I don't know what a hernia feels like, but I think I just gave myself one. And he said, like, no way, you're 22 years old, that's an 80-year-old's problem, there's no way you have that. I go to the doctor, I get an ultrasound, I'm 80 years old, I have a hernia at 22 years old. So I now have to go in for surgery. I've just got back. I couldn't believe it. I now go in for surgery. My new first day back to training was December 26, 2011, Olympic trials, or July 1st, 2012. I have 6 months to pull this off. And I've already tattooed myself with my goal, believe. So I better make this happen. In those 6 months, I said, I'm going to do this. And when I complete it, I'm going to put the Olympic rings under this believe tattoo. Each month, I make a little bit more of a gain, a little bit more of a gain. I have some bad days where I truthfully feel upset and like it's not going to happen, but I have amazing people around me. And I keep telling myself, if anyone can do this, it's me. So 6 months later, I win the Canadian National Championships. I make the Canadian Olympic team. And once I finally get there, I finish as an Olympic semifinalist, and I go and I complete this tattoo. And I think I owe a lot of that to my third theme, which is have an unwavering belief in your dream. And my coach actually jokes that he didn't even really believe that we could accomplish this until he saw me believing so hard. So I saw this work, and I started to write it on my hands before every single race. I said, to the world, basically. As the camera came to my face, I would wave and I would put, I believe. At the Pan Am Games, at the Olympic Games, at the National Championships. And this meant something to me because I wanted to hold myself accountable. I wanted to tell people about my goal. And something I think is so funny is when we have birthdays when we're little. We put in the candle, we sing the song, we get them to blow the candle out, and someone always says from the crowd, what did you wish for? And the kid always responds, I can't tell you because it won't come true. And isn't that so silly to teach our young people that we shouldn't tell people what our goals are because otherwise it won't come true? When in actuality, it's going to take a village of people to create that goal. You know, you guys work on huge projects, I bet, that take endless amount of people. And you're here at this conference alone to gain from other people and to learn and create together and inspire each other. And that took you guys taking down your guard to let people know what your goals are. What do you want to accomplish? And this photo here is actually a picture of my Olympic send-off party. And my teammates and friends are wearing t-shirts that say Sarah's Village. And that's truthfully what it is, a village of people that were surrounding me, helping me achieve this incredible goal in such a short time frame. And I owe them so much. And I believe that there's 2 reasons why people don't believe in their goal. One is that they don't tell themselves that they believe in it. And 2 is they have people around them that tell them that it's not possible. Get rid of those people. Find your village. Find the people that are going to be there to support you because you're going to have weak moments. I certainly did. I believed in what I was doing, but I had days where I didn't think it was possible. But I had these amazing people around me to tell me why yesterday I said I could. And it's important for you to find those people in your lives as well. Now I'm going to tell you a story where this belief factor really got put to the test. And this is my most recent story, actually. This past summer, the 2016 Olympics were coming around. I was a returning Olympic athlete. I had been the #1 ranked Canadian 400 hurdler for years. I was a 4-time national champion at this point. And I knew that everyone was just expecting me to win. It was necessity. And so that entire year leading up to it, I felt so much pressure. I needed to be doing everything because I definitely had to be better than everyone else. Top 3 females in the 400 hurdles were going to make the Olympics, but I felt I couldn't even get third. That would have been a fail in my brain. I needed to win. So I was doing absolutely everything I could. One day, 4 days before my very first race, I had an incredible workout the day before, and I had another hard workout coming up. And I told my coach, this is in April of this year, and Olympic trials were in July again. And so in that April workout, after I'd had a great day the day before, I came back and I had another workout, and I was really sore because I had run so fast the day before, and I should have been pleased with that. But instead, I was in fear of not being able to do everything. So I tell my coach, I'm sore, but please don't make me not work out today. I really, really want to do this workout. And so he says, okay, but let's dial it back then. Let's make some smart decisions here. And I say, okay, that's reasonable, as long as you let me run. So I start the workout. He lets me dial it back a bit. But of course, my brain's crazy. I end up running fast anyways. And I shouldn't have. I'm getting a little bit more tired and a little bit more tired as the workout goes on, and I'm trying to ignore all the signals in my brain. My coach sees these signals, and he says, Sarah, it looks like you're dying out a little bit. Maybe we should shut it down here. But I'm so afraid of not doing everything that I was like, no, I'll do another one. And if I slow down and I have run a slower time than I just did, then I'll stop. But if I run faster, you have to let me do the 2 more intervals that are left over. And so he said, okay, sure, you crazy lady, go back to the line. I go back to the line, and that dialing back idea that I was supposed to have in my brain goes out the window because I know I need to run faster if I'm going to do 2 more. So I'm 30 meters from the finish line. I'm running down the track, and all of a sudden, I'm fighting for it, and I hear this huge pop. I face plant onto the ground, and I've torn my hamstring. This is 4 days before my first race, leading into the Olympic season. I just laid on the track and couldn't believe what had happened. I had just put myself in this position. This was my fault. Even reliving the moment. And so I decide, you know what? I'm in a bad circumstance, but I'm going to do everything I can. If anyone can do this, it's me. So I start rehabbing. I'm 4 or 5 weeks into my rehab. I'm getting strong. I'm starting to run again. Olympic trials are still about 5 weeks away. And so I'm running a workout one day, and I pushed it just a little bit too hard. I feel a tiny little pop again. 4 weeks, 5 weeks out from Olympic trials. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, not again. This time it's even less likely for me to get ready and be back for Olympic trials. I do what I can in that 5 weeks. I show up at Olympic trials. I'm standing behind my blocks, and I don't feel confident. But again, if anyone can do this, it's me. I stand behind the blocks, the gun goes off. I come out so hard, but I've lost 8 weeks of training. And so my body isn't ready to carry the speed I'm at all the way to the finish line. We go over the last hurdle. 3 girls are in front of me. We cross the finish line, I'm in 4th. Top 3 make it. And I want to show you just a little video of that journey.
Success is no longer linear. Everyone has a degree these days, everyone has an MBA, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get a good job. And so what is important to learn is about being resilient and being tenacious, because hard work doesn't always lead to success, but being resilient and getting back up and persevering will always lead to another opportunity for it. As an Olympic 400-meter hurdler, as a Pan Am silver medalist, I think it is truly thanks to those people that I've had around me. Something that's been consistent through all of that has been my mantra of believe. coming into my competition season, I was excited to race. I wanted to run a fast time early and really confirm to myself that I was ready to go. I ended up tearing my hamstring, just saying, no, 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 this can't be happening right now. I realized that, that drive and that motivation to fight through any type of pain is what came back and shot me in the foot. Five weeks into my rehab, re-tore my hamstring, and this is now only 4 weeks out from Olympic trials. The gun went off, and I came out so hard.
Sarah Wells of Canada making up the stacks on this very early.
But my body wasn't prepared to be able to keep up the speed I was going at without crumbling.
Being the champion last year, coming fourth and missing the standard, all because of an injury. It's just heartbreaking. This is the sport, right? Highs and lowest of lows.
And now to see the finality of it and realize that I wasn't going to be on that team, the way things ended, I have just been left so unsatisfied. I'm inviting everyone to become a part of my journey because I really think that we can inspire each other. It starts with a belief in yourself because that will be the spark that ignites your dreams. I have so much more to show, so much more to give. I know I can be a contender. That is what is going to make me one of the best athletes on the line in the 2020 Olympics.
So I told you guys this story about how I dealt with this devastating injury in 2012 and came around and somehow 6 months in achieved this goal. On the flip side, 4 years later, almost to a T, I have the exact opposite story in terms of result. But what I think is important to take from that is that I don't feel like this was a failure because I learned so much in both processes. I understand how badly I want this. I know how much motivation I have. And I think in you guys in pursuit of your goals, no matter what the outcome ends up being, if you can learn from the process, that will drive you to success going forward no matter what. And so a quote that I love is, "The sweetest victories are the ones that are the most difficult. The ones that require you to reach down deep inside, to fight with everything you've got, to be willing to leave everything out there on the battlefield without knowing, until that do or die moment, if your effort will be enough." And standing behind my blocks at the Olympic trials this year, I didn't know if the rehab I had done, the preparation I had done to get back to the best I could was going to be enough. And in the end, it wasn't. But I put myself in the absolute best position possible to succeed. And as I say in that video, that's going to make me one of the best athletes on the line. So do that for your goals. So I want to invite you guys, join the Believe Initiative. What is something you've been scared to believe in? What's something you've been scared to tell your friends that you have as an aspiration? I have until 2020 to make the Olympic Games and win a medal. Set your goal, what's your timeline, and tell people about it. And don't be afraid to make mistakes. Start with that unwavering belief in yourself. You don't know who you're going to inspire by the pursuit alone, because more people can relate to the struggle than they can to the triumph. So be resilient, get back up. Yes, success will give you an opportunity to share, but failure will give you an opportunity to grow. Thank you so much for having me today. I really enjoyed speaking with you all, and I'll be around afterwards for questions if we have time. Thank you. Yeah, that'd be awesome. Does anyone have a question? Yeah.
Could you please come up to the mic?
Sorry.
No worries.
Oh, maybe this mic. Want to share mine?
Turn it on. Yeah, now it works. So how do you keep yourself motivated over the long term? Like, it's 4 years away, and I personally find it hard to keep myself motivated in a project beyond a month. It gets boring. So help me a little there,
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So kind of as I mentioned with that grocery list and recipe, so you can definitely look long-term, and as you said, you'll get bored. So what are the mini milestone goals you can set to keep yourself motivated? Because there's nothing more rewarding and motivating than achieving something. So if you set those mini milestones of, okay, at the end of this week, I want to be at this point. At the end of this month, I want to have this launched, and that will set me up for here. I want to have X amount of meetings. I want to learn this many things like that, so that way you're able to take that sense of reward away and use it as a driving force to continue to stay motivated long term. Anyone else?
All right, well, thank you very much, Sarah.
Thank you, guys.